Hi, I'm Greg Watkins, Executive Director of the British Chamber of Commerce, Thailand. 2021 is the BCCT's 75th anniversary, and one of the things we're doing to mark this occasion is to reach out and reconnect with some of the key people who have made BCCT what it is today. Today it's my great pleasure to introduce Jeremy Stewardson, who previously was Managing Director of Jones Lang Wooden and then Jones Lang LaSalle when the company was renamed. He was a board director from 1997 and he was chairman of the chamber from 1998 to 2000. So Jeremy, a warm welcome to you. And tell us a little bit more about your time on the BCCT board.
Fine, Greg. Thank you very much. A pleasure to join you. And first of all, can I just say very, very happy birthday to the British Chamber in Thailand. 75 years is an extremely good innings. And it is obviously played a major part in looking after British interests and working with Thai partners and colleagues in Thailand over that period. So very happy birthday, British Chamber. And if it is 75 years, Greg, then you must be coming up to 25 years. And so I think credit's deserved to you for stewarding the chamber through some very, very interesting times since I believe you joined in 1997-ish.
Yes.
So when you get to 25, I do hope they hold a major Obama-style bash for you. And we look forward to hearing details. Anyway, congratulations on work done. Very briefly, as you've asked, arrived, as you say, in June 1996 as head of Jones Lang LaSalle, as it was then, in Thailand, with a remit to look after the rest of Indochina as well. Luckily, I'd been reasonably familiar with Thailand and Thai culture, as I had been a regular visitor since the 1980s, in fact, and had been based in Hong Kong prior to moving to Thailand. So Thailand wasn't too much of a shock when I arrived, and when the opportunity arose to take up this position with Jones Lang, I jumped at it. My predecessor had been a board member of the British Chamber, and so I started attending functions in 1996, and as you've just mentioned, was delighted to accept the invitation to join the board in 1997. I think it might be interesting, Greg, to remember that in 1996 we were beginning to witness a very difficult economic time in Thailand. There was vast over-borrowing in foreign currency in Thailand, leading to bankruptcies, particularly in the property development and securities fields. And that obviously had an influence on the work that we were being asked to do and to what our members' requirements were at this difficult time. And I think this is a point I wanted to emphasize, that British chambers, around the world have varying business cultures to work in, but in a place like Thailand, where perhaps business information is not as readily available as it is in other world business centers, the ability for the chamber to be able to provide information and help share experiences amongst its members, I think was extremely useful in those very, very difficult times.
Sure. Jeremy, tell me, what was your enduring memory of your time on the board?
Firstly, as I mentioned, board meeting. Secondly, I think the fun aspect of it, even in these dire times. It was a tremendous variety of board members, as you recall, Ralph from Unilever, Richard from HSBC, Brian from Castrol, etc., etc. And whilst the economic times were difficult and hardship was abroad, as it were, we did manage to have a lot of fun, and together as a group, particularly, although not specifically, after board meeting drinks at the Chapel of the Little Sisters of Mercy was an enduring memory, Greg.
Indeed, indeed. Jeremy, you've been away for just over 20 years. How has Thailand changed since you left?
With COVID, particularly in the last couple of years, my chances of visiting Thailand have been extremely limited. So I'm not best qualified to give you a really sensible answer on this. Although I've got two points I would like to make. Firstly, Thailand is often castigated for, shall we say, in sort of slick global terms, somewhat of a sort of a backward approach. But I think two enduring pictures remain with me. Firstly, the work that is done over that period you just mentioned in reducing pollution, particularly in Bangkok, in the capital city. That's been a vast improvement and something that the city should be extremely proud of. And secondly, of course, the improvements in infrastructure, which has always been a problem in Bangkok particularly. But I think moving people around the city has vastly improved since the days I first arrived there. I think, Greg, Thailand's not destined to be an Asian tiger, but it remains a highly livable place, extremely attractive to many expatriates, certainly. It's a favored destination for other Asian countries, mid-level manufacturing. It's a very, very big contributor to agricultural research around the world. And of course, once we are allowed to travel again, it remains a hugely popular destination for tourists. Only to get more important, I'm quite sure, if Thailand does what it says it's going to do and attempts to keep its tourism, how should we say, its tourism positioning at the upper end rather than mass tourism.
Excellent. Well, Jeremy, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing these days.
It's an interesting job. I got the association going in 2009 when we were just, I think, 20 members and 2 employees. And now we've grown to 200 members, as I say. And obviously we're vastly limited by not being able to travel around the region, which is an imposition we do hope goes away soon. But it's an interesting job. Doesn't offer the same frisson of interest as I say, post-board meeting drinks with the British Chamber in Thailand, but it's a very good substitute.
What could? Hopefully we will see you back here, but how do you see Thailand's role in the post-COVID world?
Well, as I mentioned, Greg, to your earlier question, in fact, how Thailand has changed. I think it's changing in a very changing world and an extremely rapidly changing region. I think it's got a very good position to fulfill. Asia is proving to be, how should we say, I think not exactly a safe haven with all the geopolitical difficulties and worries. But Asia is very much a destination for investment for global capital at the moment. And I think Thailand has a role in that. I think its position would be very, very much augmented if it was able to dedicate resources and effort to building a national education system for training its people and providing, skills in the industries that are proving popular in Thailand. So that would, I think, certainly help boost its role as a Southeast Asian leader. I think if it retains its historical impartiality and stays open to foreign business, it's got great prospects: consumer goods, mid-level manufacturing, agribusiness, upmarket, eco-sensitive tourism, as we've mentioned before. And I think it could finally develop much closer business and cultural links with Great Britain. Again, a role that the British Chamber has helped with over the years and continues to help. I think this link with Great Britain is a tremendous counterbalance for Thailand to its American defense links and its China trade links. And so I think the British Chamber certainly has a role to play in augmenting those links with Britain, particularly as it's now free to develop its own trade arrangements outside the European Union. So
sure.
I think there's never been a better time to get closer to the United Kingdom, and essentially it's the Chamber's role, as it has been, to help that and promote that.
Oh, absolutely. Our final question, Jeremy. What's your favourite place in Thailand and your favourite thing to do? I think you've already alluded several times to the favourite thing to do, but the favourite place in which to do it.
I'm very fond of Thailand. I've been lucky enough to be a householder there for some 20 years. We were very closely connected with Koh Samui from the 80s onwards. So Koh Samui has a special place in my heart. Again, having worked and lived in Bangkok for 6 or 7 years, we've kept certainly expatriate and Thai friends in Bangkok. So any visit to Bangkok is always full of fun and catching up with old chums. And finally, Greg, you will recall our various connections with Chiang Mai. And I've spent many a happy visit over the years up to Chiang Mai and outside Chiang Mai, with as you know, a small but active British community up there. And I think Chiang Mai as a regional tourist destination has got a great way to go, and as long as it's managed well. So those would be my 3 favorite places, and plenty more to discover, down past Hua Hin, and that coast seems, down past Chumpon and around that area look extremely interesting. So really, plenty to do, plenty to see.
Fantastic, Jeremy. Thanks for your time. It's brilliant to reconnect. And post-COVID, please don't be a stranger. You've many friends here still in Thailand, and do come and see us.
Thank you, Greg. We'll certainly do. And once again, congratulations to you for 25 years of excellent and determined and energetic service to the Chamber. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you again. And we pray that we'll be allowed to travel, and you can bet your socks that Thailand will be very, very high on the list for me.
Fantastic.